will receive you to myself, that where I am, there you may be also. But I believe he's also preparing us for that mansion, for that presence, for that glory. And it's going to be something that exceeds our imaginations. It's a text we used before, but I want to throw this back in John chapter 16, when his disciples were terribly anxious because they finally realized that Jesus was going to leave them. This is in John 16 in the upper room. And finally they discover and recognize that what he is saying is true. And he says to them that in verse 19, "Are you deliberating together about this, that I said a little while and you will not see me? And a little while and you will see me?" Verse 20, "Truly, truly, I say to you that you will weep and lament, but the world will rejoice. You will grieve, but your grief will be turned into joy. Whenever a woman is in labor, she has pain because her hour has come. But when she gives birth to the child, she no longer remembers the anguish because of the joy that a child has been born into the world. Therefore you too now have grief. But I will see you again, and your heart will rejoice, and no one will take your joy away from you." It is the way not of substitution. Instead, it is the way of transformation. God doesn't just take our pain and problems away. Instead, he changes us. And he does that by transforming those problems into the material, the stuff of glory. And it's my conviction then that he says, and using this analogy is a wonderful image. Now, I don't know what it's like to be in labor. I've often been very grateful that I don't need to know that. But it's obviously pretty much of an anguish. Remember, it's part of the curse. It's that the pain, in pain you will give birth. But when she gives birth to the child, what happens? How long did the pain last? It lasts for a season, but for a very short season. How long does the child last? The child lasts forever. You see the idea? The pain is fleeting. The glory endures. This is why Paul would say in Romans 8:18, "I consider the sufferings of this present time not even worth comparing to the glory to be revealed to us." There's no comparison. And I end up on this verse that I have given you many times because it's one of my favorites in all of Scripture. When Paul says to the Corinthians, 2 Corinthians 4:16-18, he says, "Therefore we do not lose heart, even though our outward man is perishing. This body, this earth suit, this mortality is indeed languishing. And if our identity were based upon our physicality, we'd all be in big trouble. We don't look as good as we did 10 years ago. At least most of us don't. The fact is that it's not going to, and it doesn't bode well for the future. You know, some of us may put it off for a while, but it's going to catch us, even the best of us, and in very brief order. The difference between a person who lives to be 100 years old and a person who lives to be 50 years old, in terms of eternity, is as nothing. But he says, we don't lose heart. Even though our outward man is perishing, yet our inward man is being renewed day by day. For momentary, light affliction is producing for us an eternal weight of glory. While we do not look at the things that are seen, the things that are unseen. Because the things that are seen are temporal, but the things that are unseen are eternal. And so, how long does the affliction last? What did he say? What was the term he used? Yeah, he said momentary, did he not? Momentary light affliction, eternal weight of glory. How heavy is the affliction? The term he used was light. What was the term that he used in association with glory? The weight of glory. And so the contrast couldn't be greater. Ultimately then, a brief bit of pain for an eternal joy. The pain will not last, but the joy will. The joy will endure. With this point of view then, and even there, the pain will be the stuff of redemption. That God will even use those things that happen to us, in my view, redemptively. And that the joy and that the glory of your future destiny, even that will reach back into your bounded past and into the present pain and make it the stuff of glory. And if you could imagine then that we as this group in this very room, suppose this exact group of men were to make an appointment to meet 200 years from now. Imagine such a scenario. Making an appointment 200 years. Suppose we gathered in our Father's house and did that. What do you suppose it would be like? Can't imagine. If I were to see one of you in your glorified body, I'd be tempted to worship you. You'll be above the angels. You won't be having wings, by the way. Please don't get that illusion. It's a wonderful life. Clarence earns his wings. No, it's bad theology. You're going to be above the angels. You will be, in fact, glorious, radiant, revealing and expressing through the unique personality that you've been given. You're going to display the glory and indeed the splendor of the living God in unique ways. Imagine this glorious body meets together. It tells us in 1 John chapter 3. Puts it this way. See how great a love the Father has bestowed on us that we should be called children of God, and such we are. For this reason, the world does not know us because it did not know Him. Beloved, now we are children of God. And note the next phrase. It has not appeared as yet what we will be. Isn't that an interesting notion? You have not yet seen anyone as we will be. We know that when He appears, we will be like Him because we shall see Him just as He is. And everyone who has this hope fixed on Him purifies himself just as He is pure. So imagine we were to meet in 200 years. I can promise you, you won't be in this earth suit. You will be resurrected. And suppose we were to meet together, and suppose we were to look back on this brief earthly sojourn, and we would see that God really did all things well. Things that didn't make sense at the time, we'll look back and we'll see with perfect perspective how this really did fit together, and He crafted our stories and meshed them together and merged them in such a way that they fit in the larger and wider story, which is His story, which is the only real story, the story that goes on and on. Whereas C.S. Lewis put it at the end of the Chronicles of Narnia, all we've seen right now is the first page, the title of the first of a book, and where each chapter will get better than the one before. That we'll go further up and higher in, and so the journey begins. It begins now, but really then we will see it begin in earnest when we are together in our Father's house. So with that perspective then, visualize yourself as looking back on your life and realizing that really all things were done well. With this kind of perspective, we can be more than conquerors through the one who loved us.